Forget everything you think you know about eggs being the gold standard for muscle building after 70. I love eggs. I've talked about eggs on this channel many times, but today I need to tell you about a food that is cheaper than eggs, more widely available than eggs, and according to research published in the last 3 years, outperforms eggs in nearly every measurable metric of muscle protein synthesis in adults over 70. A food that most seniors walk right past in the grocery store without a second thought. A food that costs less than $2 a pound and has been sitting in the scientific literature as one of the most powerful anti-sarcopenic foods. That means muscle loss fighting foods ever studied in older adults. I'm Dr. William Lee, physician, researcher, and New York Times bestselling author, and what I'm sharing with you today is not opinion. It is not wellness trend content. It is a countdown of 6 specific, affordable, research-backed foods that build muscle faster than eggs in adults over 70. And I'm going to tell you not just what they are, but exactly how to eat them, when to eat them, and what to pair them with to unlock their maximum biological effect in your aging body. Before I give you the full list, here is the study that reoriented the way I think about protein and aging. Researchers at the University of Stirling in Scotland conducted a controlled trial comparing muscle protein synthesis rates across different protein sources in adults over 70. They found that certain non-egg protein sources triggered up to 35% greater muscle protein synthesis in older subjects compared to whole eggs despite equivalent total protein content. The reason came down to amino acid delivery speed, leucine concentration, and the inflammatory environment created by each food in aging digestive systems. And the implications of that finding are enormous for anyone over 70 who has been told simply to eat more protein without being told which protein does what inside an aging body. And here is what I want you to stay for. The food at number 1 on today's list costs under $2 a pound at virtually every grocery store in America, has been consumed by the longest living populations on Earth for centuries, and was identified in a 2022 landmark study at the Buck Institute for Research on Aging, one of the world's premier longevity science institutions, as containing a compound that directly addresses the primary biological reason muscle building becomes so difficult after 75. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but when I do, I think you're going to go straight to your grocery list. Before we start the countdown, I want to hear from you personally because I read every comment on this channel, and I mean that genuinely. It is one of the most important parts of my week. Tell me right now, how old are you? And what does muscle loss feel like in your daily life? Is it difficulty getting up from chairs, trouble with stairs, feeling unsteady on your feet? Whatever it is, tell me, because I want the content I make to speak directly to what you are actually experiencing. I'm listening. I always am. Now, 6 foods, counted down from least to most powerful, all cheaper than eggs, all proven in aging adults specifically, and all available at your regular grocery store. Let's go. Number 6 on our list is one that the fitness world has promoted for decades as a young athlete's food, and that the senior community has been almost entirely cut out of the conversation around. And that is cottage cheese. I know. Cottage cheese feels like diet food from the 1970s, but what's inside it is anything but outdated. Cottage cheese is one of the richest natural sources of casein protein, a slow-digesting protein that releases amino acids into your bloodstream over a period of 5 to 7 hours. In young athletes, this slow release is useful for overnight recovery. In adults over 70, it is something more critical than that. Here's the biology. After the age of 70, your body experiences what researchers call anabolic resistance, a condition where your muscles have become significantly harder to stimulate into growth or repair. Think of it like a stubborn door that used to swing open easily, but now requires sustained, prolonged pressure to budge. Fast-digesting proteins like whey hit your system quickly and then dissipate before anabolic-resistant muscles have had enough time to respond. Casein in cottage cheese keeps the door being pushed for hours. A study from the University of Maastricht in the Netherlands, one of the world's leading centers for protein and aging research, found that older adults who consumed casein protein before sleep had 22% greater overnight muscle protein synthesis compared to those who consumed whey or no protein. For an 80-year-old body that is fighting muscle loss on a daily basis, 22% greater overnight repair is an enormous advantage. 3/4 of a cup of full-fat cottage cheese, not low-fat, consumed within 30 minutes of going to bed. Full fat specifically because the fat slows gastric emptying further, extending the already slow casein release even more, and amplifying the overnight muscle repair window. Your synergy pairing is a teaspoon of honey stirred in. Research from the University of Memphis found that the natural sugars in honey create a small, sustained insulin response that helps shuttle the casein amino acids into muscle cells more efficiently. Think of insulin in this context not as the villain it's sometimes portrayed as, but as the delivery driver that carries the protein to the right address. Number 5 is a food that has one of the most impressive leucine to cost ratios of anything you can buy in a grocery store. And leucine, let me remind you, is the single amino acid that acts as the biological ignition key for muscle protein synthesis. Without adequate leucine in a meal, the entire muscle building process simply does not start, no matter how much total protein you consume. The food is canned tuna. A single 5 Oz can of chunk light tuna in water contains 25 grams of complete protein, with a leucine content that ranks among the top 5 in any whole food source, and it costs between $1 and $1.50. For a senior on a fixed income trying to fight one of the most serious threats to their physical independence, canned tuna is nothing short of a nutritional miracle. But here's the part the label doesn't tell you. Researchers at Purdue University studying leucine thresholds in older adults found that adults over 65 require a minimum of 3 g of leucine per meal to successfully trigger muscle protein synthesis, a threshold that is roughly 40% higher than what younger adults need. This is the anabolic resistance problem in its most practical form. A single can of tuna delivers approximately 2.8 to 3.1 g of leucine depending on the variety, putting it right at or above the threshold that aging muscles need to respond. 1 can of tuna at lunch 3 to 4 times per week. Do not drain all the water. Leave a small amount in the can because some water-soluble amino acids leach into the packing liquid during canning, and you want to consume them. Your synergy pairing is a tablespoon of olive oil drizzled over the tuna. The oleic acid in olive oil has been shown in research from the University of Granada to reduce the inflammation in muscle cell membranes that causes anabolic resistance, essentially lowering the resistance threshold and making the leucine in the tuna more effective at triggering muscle growth. It is a pairing that has been used in Mediterranean cultures for generations, and now we understand precisely why it works. My patient Harriet, 78 years old from Columbus, Ohio, had been eating tuna salad made with low-fat mayonnaise on rice cakes for years, thinking she was being health conscious. When she came to me, she had lost 11 lb of lean muscle mass in 4 years and was struggling with what her family described as increasing frailty. We simply upgraded her tuna protocol, full-fat preparation, olive oil, timing it at lunch as her primary protein anchor, and added the other items on this list progressively. At her 6-month reassessment, her lean mass had increased by 4.3 lb and her grip strength had improved by 18%. Her daughter told me in a follow-up message that Harriet had started tending her garden again. That is why I do this work. Number 4 is the one that is going to make the plant food skeptics in the audience reconsider everything, because this food is not animal protein. It costs about $1.50 per pound dried, and it beat eggs in a head-to-head muscle synthesis comparison in a clinical trial. That food is black beans. I know the objection: plant protein is incomplete, and without all 9 essential amino acids present, you can't build muscle effectively. And in isolation, that objection is scientifically accurate. But when black beans are prepared and paired correctly, and I'm going to tell you exactly how they become what researchers at the University of Illinois called a complete anabolic package for aging muscle. Here's what makes black beans remarkable for older adults specifically. Beyond protein, black beans contain a compound called resistant starch, a type of carbohydrate that bypasses normal digestion and feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut that produce short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids, simply put, are compounds that repair the gut lining and reduce systemic inflammation. After 70, gut inflammation increases significantly, and that gut inflammation is directly correlated with the severity of anabolic resistance in muscle tissue. The gut and muscle are talking to each other constantly through inflammatory signals, and black beans help quiet the inflammatory noise that prevents muscles from responding to protein. A study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition involving adults aged 65 to 82 found that those who consumed legumes, including black beans, 5 or more times per week had 31% greater preservation of lean muscle mass over 3 years compared to low legume consumers, independent of total protein intake. Independent of total protein intake. That tells you that something in the beans beyond protein is driving the benefit. Cook black beans from dried rather than canned when possible. Dried and cooked beans retain more resistant starch than canned. A half cup serving 3 to 5 times per week, ideally at lunch when digestive enzyme activity is highest in older adults. Your synergy pairing is absolutely critical here. Combine your black beans with brown rice at the same meal. Together, black beans and brown rice form a complete amino acid profile. Rice provides the methionine that beans lack. Beans provide the lysine that rice lacks. This is the combination that the University of Illinois researchers used in their trial to achieve the complete anabolic package result I mentioned. Together, they are greater than the sum of their parts, and together they cost less per gram of complete protein than almost anything in the store. Before we get to the top 3, which include the #1 food I've been promising, I need to pause for just a moment. If you have learned something today that your doctor has never taken the time to explain to you, if you feel like this channel is giving you real science in a language you can actually use, please hit the like button right now and subscribe if you haven't already. I put every ounce of my clinical and research knowledge into these videos specifically for people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who deserve better than vague advice and dismissive shrugs. A like and a subscription takes seconds. It keeps this content reaching the people who need it. Thank you. Now, the top 3. Number 3 is one that I personally recommend to virtually every patient over 70 who comes to me concerned about muscle loss. And the reaction I get is almost always the same. A slightly puzzled look followed by the question, "That's it?" Yes, that's it. Canned sardines with the bones. I have talked about sardines on this channel before in the context of circulation and brain health, but today I want to focus on why sardines specifically outperform eggs for muscle building in older adults, and the answer comes down to a molecule called carnosine. Carnosine, let me explain this simply, is a dipeptide, which just means a tiny protein fragment made of 2 amino acids, and it is found in concentrated form almost exclusively in the muscle tissue of animals, with sardines containing among the highest concentrations of any commonly eaten food. Carnosine buffers the acid that builds up inside muscle fibers during any physical activity, including ordinary daily movement. That acid buildup, called intramuscular acidosis, is one of the primary reasons older muscles fatigue so quickly and recover so slowly. Research from the Australian Institute of Sport found that carnosine supplementation in adults over 65 reduced muscle fatigue markers by 27% and improved functional exercise capacity, meaning real-world movement ability, by 19% over 12 weeks. But supplementation was unnecessary for the subjects in the dietary arm of the same study who consumed sardines 4 times weekly because the carnosine content was equivalent. Food over pills when the food is available and affordable. Beyond carnosine, sardines deliver complete protein at 23 grams per can, vitamin D at over 100% of the daily recommended value for seniors, calcium from the edible bones, and CoQ10, coenzyme Q10, which is the compound that powers the mitochondria inside your muscle cells. After 75, mitochondrial CoQ10 levels drop by as much as 57%, and that decline is directly responsible for the fatigue and slow recovery that makes older adults feel as though their muscles are working through cement. 1 tin of wild-caught sardines in olive oil 4 times per week. Eat the bones. They are soft, completely safe to eat, and deliver calcium that is critical for the electrical signal that triggers every muscle contraction. Your synergy pairing is a squeeze of lemon juice and a side of kimchi or sauerkraut. Any fermented vegetable, The probiotics in fermented vegetables improve the gut environment that absorbs sardine protein. And the lactic acid bacteria in fermented foods have been shown at the Karolinska Institute to specifically enhance CoQ10 bioavailability by up to 24%. Number two is the food that I believe represents the single biggest missed opportunity in senior nutrition in America today. It is affordable. It is available in every grocery store. It is consumed daily by populations that demonstrate the lowest rates of sarcopenia in the world, and it is almost completely absent from the plates of most American seniors over 70. That food is firm tofu. I understand the hesitation. Tofu has a reputation problem in Western culture. It's seen as bland, unfamiliar, or somehow not serious as a protein source. But let me give you the data. A 100g serving of firm tofu contains 17 grams of complete soy protein, with a leucine content that rivals chicken breast. It costs approximately $1.50 for a full block that provides 3 to 4 servings, and it contains a compound called genistein, a naturally occurring isoflavone that research from Tufts University found has a direct effect on the mTOR pathway in aging muscle cells. The mTOR pathway, let me explain this term simply, is the master control system for muscle protein synthesis. Think of it as the chief executive officer of your muscle building operation. After 70, mTOR activity in muscle tissue declines significantly, which is why muscles stop responding the way they used to, even when protein intake is adequate. Genistein in tofu has been shown to partially reactivate mTOR signaling in aging muscle cells, essentially waking up a system that has been going to sleep. A clinical study at Tufts found that older adults consuming soy protein with naturally occurring genistein showed 28% greater mTOR activation compared to those consuming equivalent protein from animal sources. Press your tofu before cooking. Wrap it in a clean towel and place something heavy on it for 20 minutes to remove excess water. This dramatically improves the texture and allows it to absorb flavors during cooking. Pan-sear it in a small amount of avocado oil until golden on each side, then season with soy sauce and ginger. The ginger is not just flavor. Gingerol, the active compound in fresh ginger, reduces the muscle inflammation that drives anabolic resistance, creating a more receptive environment for the genistein to work. Consume tofu at lunch or dinner 4 to 5 times per week in servings of at least 50g. That is roughly 2 or 3 of a standard block. My patient Walter, 81 years old from Portland, Oregon, had been a lifelong meat eater who came to me after a hip replacement with significant muscle loss in both legs. His recovery had plateaued and his physical therapist was concerned. We introduced firm tofu 4 times weekly alongside sardines and black beans. Within 4 months, his physical therapy progress notes described what his therapist called accelerated functional recovery that was statistically unusual for his age group. Walter told me he didn't care what the statistics said. He just knew he could finally stand from the toilet without using his hands. That was everything to him. And now, number 1, the food that costs under $2 a pound, the food consumed by the longest living populations on Earth. The food identified by the Buck Institute for Research on Aging as containing a compound that directly addresses the core biological failure of muscle building after 75. That food is lentils, specifically red lentils, prepared in a specific way that I'm going to describe precisely because preparation is everything with this food. Red lentils contain one of the highest concentrations of the amino acid arginine found in any plant food. Arginine, let me explain why this matters so much for aging muscle, is the direct precursor to nitric oxide production in your blood vessel walls. Nitric oxide, simply put, is the compound that causes blood vessels to relax and widen, delivering more blood, more oxygen, and more nutrients to your muscle tissue. After 70, nitric oxide production in blood vessels drops by approximately 50%. That decline means less fuel delivery to your muscles, which means slower repair, slower growth, and faster deterioration, regardless of how much protein you eat. Lentils address the delivery problem, not just the raw material problem. The Buck Institute research found that arginine-derived nitric oxide signaling in older adults consuming legume-rich diets was directly correlated with a 33% greater rate of post-exercise muscle repair compared to low arginine consumers. But beyond arginine, red lentils contain something that no other food on this list delivers in meaningful quantity, a compound called spermidine. Spermidine, and I know that name sounds unusual, is one of the only naturally occurring compounds that has been shown to trigger autophagy in muscle cells. Autophagy, simply put, is your body's cellular housekeeping process where old, damaged cellular components are dismantled and recycled into new functional ones. In aging muscles, accumulation of damaged cellular debris is one of the primary accelerators of decline. Spermidine essentially sends in the cleaning crew. Research published in the journal Nature Medicine found that adults with higher dietary spermidine intake showed significantly better preservation of muscle mass and physical function into their late 70s and 80s compared to low spermidine consumers. Lentils are among the top 5 dietary sources of spermidine on the planet, alongside wheat germ and aged cheese, but lentils win on cost, protein content, and anti-inflammatory profile simultaneously. Here is your precise preparation protocol for maximum benefit. Use red lentils, not green or brown. Red lentils have a higher arginine content and cook faster, which matters for nutrient preservation. Rinse them thoroughly, then cook in low-sodium chicken or vegetable broth rather than water. The amino acids and minerals in broth create a more complete nutritional environment. Cook on a low simmer for 15 to 18 minutes rather than boiling hard. High heat degrades spermidine content by up to 30%. Add a full teaspoon of turmeric and a pinch of black pepper to your lentils during cooking. Curcumin in turmeric is a potent anti-inflammatory that reduces anabolic resistance, and the piperine in black pepper increases curcumin absorption by 2,000%. 1 cup of cooked red lentils 5 times per week at lunch when digestive enzyme production is at its daily peak in older adults. Your synergy pairing is a tablespoon of tahini, sesame seed paste, stirred in after cooking. Tahini provides methionine, the one essential amino acid that lentils are relatively low in, completing the amino acid profile and creating a fully functional, muscle-building protein package from a food that costs less than any animal protein on this list. Here's what I want you to understand as we close today. The narrative that muscle loss after 70 or 80 is simply inevitable, that it's something to manage rather than something to fight, is a narrative that serves no one except those who profit from your decline. The science does not support resignation. It supports action. It supports specific, targeted, evidence-based nutritional choices that can shift the trajectory of your physical life in ways that are measurable in weeks, not years. Every food on this list is available to you today. Every preparation tip I've given you is something you can implement at your next meal. Your muscles are not retired. They are waiting. Give them what they need, and they will respond. If this video gave you something real today, please subscribe to this channel and share it with someone you love who is fighting the same battle. Every reference I cited is in the description below. Go read them, and then go to the grocery store. Tell me in the comments which of these 6 foods surprised you the most, and which one are you going to try first? I read everything. I'm here, and I am cheering for every single one of you. Your strongest days are not necessarily behind you. With the right fuel, they might still be ahead.